Hello everyone. Last time we have seen ideal gas equation and completed till Dalton's law of partial pressure. So today we are going to begin with aqueous tension. So to understand about this term aqueous tension, we are going to first see some simple terms. So first is vapor. So what is vapor? Vapor is a gas in contact with a liquid of the same substance. Okay, now for example, if I have taken a container and in that thing I have taken water. Okay, so whatever the vapors which is formed above that liquid, that water, is said to be its vapor. Okay, so hopefully you understood. Vapor is nothing but a gas in contact with a liquid of the same substance. Okay, so if it is H2O down, so what will be the vapor there? H2O in the gaseous form. Okay, now the next one is water vapor. So it is simple. If I have taken in a container water, then the gas above the surface of the liquid water is said to be water vapor. Okay, if it is anything, if I have taken acetone, it will be the vapors of acetone there above that above that liquid. Okay, so it depends upon what I have taken in the container. So if it is liquid water, then the gas above the surface of liquid water is said to be water vapor. Now what is vapor pressure? So it is simple. The pressure exerted by the vapors on the surface of the liquid is said to be vapor pressure. Now understand this thing. What happens when a liquid is taken in a container? Now after some times, some of the vapors are formed above that liquid. Okay, now you know that gases are having escaping tendency, so they will go. If it is closed, what will happen? It will exert pressure on the surface of the liquid. So that is called as vapor pressure. Okay, so if I have taken water as the liquid, then the vapors collected are the water vapor and the exerted pressure by the water vapor is said to be vapor pressure. Okay, now one more term we have to understand is aqueous tension. Okay, now to understand this thing, same, I have taken what? Liquid in a container. Okay, specifically it should be liquid water in a container, and I have pumped out all the air and I have sealed the container. Now what will happen? After some time, this liquid will start evaporating and there will be vapors formed on the top of the liquid. Now a time will reach when the rate, what will happen? The vapors are formed and now it has reached the maximum and now it will start to condense. Okay, because my container is sealed now. Okay, now after that a time will reach when the rate of evaporation becomes equal to the rate of condensation. That means now it is saturated. It has reached the saturated state. So after few minutes, the vapor pressure reaches a maximum called as the saturated vapor pressure. Now the pressure exerted by the saturated vapor pressure, the water vapors, are said to be aqueous tension. Once again, the pressure exerted by the saturated water vapors are said to be aqueous tension. So hopefully it is understood. Now in simple meaning, what is aqueous tension? The vapor pressure of water is called aqueous tension. Now where it is used? For example, if I have taken a liquid in which there is water as well as one other gas molecule is also there. Now aqueous tension of water will have a value, okay, at a particular temperature. Okay, so if I just want to collect some other gas above that thing, it will be easier for me to understand what is the vapor pressure of that particular gas. Okay, so you know that we have learnt about the total vapor pressure as well. Okay, in Dalton's theory we have already learnt we can find out the partial vapor pressures. Okay, so over there are two vapor pressure created, one from the different gas and one from the water vapor. Okay, so the pressure, the partial pressure created by the water vapor is simply called as the aqueous tension. So always remember, aqueous tension is simply what the pressure exerted by the water vapor. Okay, so by the name you can understand aqueous. Whenever we say aqueous solutions, something made in water is said to be aqueous. So that way you can remember, aqueous tension is nothing but the pressure exerted by water vapors. Okay, and it is given by P aqueous, AQ. So we can say, when a gas is collected over water in a closed container, it gets mixed with the saturated water vapor in that space. So the measured pressure will be the pressure of the mixture of that gas and the saturated water vapor in that space. Okay, so hopefully this thing is understood nicely. If there is one gas component and water is there, so whatever the vapor pressure which is created, it will be of the saturated water vapor and the other component, that is that gas. Okay, so we can easily find out the pressure of that gas, that is we can call it as dry gas, by subtracting the total pressure by the aqueous tension. Okay, so that is what it is written. Pressure of pure and dry gas can be calculated by using the aqueous tension. It is obtained by subtracting the aqueous tension from total pressure of moist gas. Okay, so and always remember, P aqueous at a particular temperature remains constant. So it will be easier for us to understand about to find the value of the dry gas, the pressure of the dry gas. So this is a table of aqueous tension of water at different temperatures. Okay, so aqueous tension of water, in bracket it is written vapor pressure, okay, as a function of temperature. So at different temperatures, what is the pressure of water is given in this table, and the unit for temperature is given as Kelvin, and for pressure it is bar. So at 273.15, the temperature is the pressure exerted is 0.0060. okay, and if you take the temperature of 303.15, the vapor pressure is 0.0418. so as you can see over here, as the temperature increases, the pressure also increases. The water vapor formed will be increased. As a result, the pressure exerted is also going to increase. Okay, so that is what the trend you can see from this table. Next topic, kinetic molecular theory of gases. So this simply means the theoretical model put forth to explain the behavior of gases. So there are some assumptions of kinetic molecular theory of gases that we are going to see one by one. So the first one is, gases consist of tiny particles. They can be molecules or atoms. Next one, on an average, gas molecules remain far apart from each other. Therefore, the actual volume of the gas particle is negligible as compared to the volume of the container. That is why the gases are highly compressible in nature. Now this point is very simple, like you know that the intermolecular spaces between the gas molecules are very large. So when I consider the volume of a gas that to that of the volume of a container, the volume of the gas particles will be negligible. Okay, and one more thing which we can understand is, as the spaces are very large, so the gases can be easily compressible. Okay, so that is why it is said the gases are highly compressible in nature. Next one is a similar point. The attractive forces between the gas molecules are negligible at ordinary temperature and pressure. So we can say that Therefore, the gas expands to occupy the entire volume of the container. So again, it depends upon what the attractive forces over here. So that depends upon the spaces. So if the spaces are large, the attractive forces is very less. As a result, the gas can expand anywhere, so it takes the entire volume of the container. Next point, the gas molecules are in constant random motion and move in all possible directions in straight lines. They collide with each other and with the walls of the container. So you know that as the gas molecules are free to move anywhere, they are continuous in random motion and they can move in all possible direction. As a result, they collide with each other and with the walls of the container. Next point is the pressure of the gas is due to the collision of gas particles with the walls of the container. So we have seen in the last point that the particles collide with each other and with the walls of container. So as a result, what happens is they exert pressure. Okay. So next point, the collision of the gas molecules are perfectly elastic in nature, which means that the total energy of the gaseous particle remains unchanged after collision. Now it is very simple. Whenever you hear this word elastic in nature, that means you should remember that the total energy before collision and after collision will change, but there can be a transfer of energy. Like for example, if there are two molecules, okay, let that be A and B. Now A is having let that be 20 kilojoules of energy and B is having 20 kilojoules of energy. Okay, that means after collision there should be total of 40 kilojoules of energy remaining. Okay, because it is perfectly elastic collision, that means the energy cannot change, but there can be transfer of energy. That means what, one can become 30 kilojoule and the other can become 10 kilojoule, but the total amount will remain same. That is what it means by perfectly elastic in nature. Okay. Now next one, the different molecules of a gas move with different velocities at any instant and hence have different kinetic energies, but average kinetic energy of the gas molecules is directly proportional to the absolute temperature. So over here you know that any moving particle possesses kinetic energy. So each of the particle will be moving with different kinetic energies, different velocities at a particular time, and therefore they will be having different kinetic energies. But what is there, they are directly proportional to temperature. That means as the temperature increases, the energy of the particles increases, that means the kinetic energy increases. Okay. So to remember all the assumptions, just remember some of the points, then it is easier for you to frame the sentences. So first point, you can remember that they are made up of tiny particles, you can understand. Second, talks about the volume of gas particles and the comparison with volume of container. Next one talks about the attractive forces of the particles. Next point talks about the collision. Next point talks about the pressure of the gas which it exerts to the walls of the container. Next one, the collision is perfectly elastic, and the last point talks about the kinetic energy and temperature relationship. Okay, so hopefully you'll remember this all points easily. Next one is the deviation from ideal behavior. Again, important topic. Over here you should first understand what is the ideal behavior or what is an ideal gas. So an ideal gas is the one which exactly follows the ideal gas equation. Now which is the ideal gas equation? PV is equal to nRT is the ideal gas equation. Okay, now in that equation, if we just rearrange, we can write it as N is equal to PV upon RT. Okay, now if I say that for 1 mole of a gas, okay, the ratio will come to be PV upon RT is equal to 1 at all pressures. Okay, so if it is 1, if the ratio is coming to be 1, then we can say it is ideal gas. Now if the ratio is not 1, that means it can be greater than 1 or it can be less than 1. That means it does not obey ideal gas law. Then that kind of gas are said to be real gases. Okay, so hopefully you understood the difference between ideal gas and real gas. Only think about the ideal gas equation, that is PV equal to nRT. If it follows this, that is PV upon RT becomes 1 for 1 mole of a gas, then it is ideal gas. If the value is not coming to be 1, that means it will be less or more than 1, then they are said to be real gases. Next one, some important points about ideal gas. A gas that obeys all the gas laws over the entire range of temperature and pressure. Next point, there will not be any interactive forces between the molecules. Okay, and the last point is the molecular volume is negligibly small compared to the volume occupied by the gas, and therefore they are said to be point particles because they are very far away from each other. Okay, next one is about the real gas. They does not obey Boyle's law and Charles' law under all the conditions of temperature and pressure, and they show deviation from ideal behavior at normally high pressures and low temperature. Now what will be the reason? At high pressure the molecules are close to each other, and at low temperature as well it is the same. They tend to be closer to each other, so therefore that ideal behavior is not there. Okay, so this you should understand. Now we'll learn about the reasons for deviation of gases from ideal behavior. Okay, so the first one, intermolecular attractive forces are not negligible in real gases. Okay, so we have assumed that there is no attractive forces which exist between the gas particles, but whenever we say there is deviation from the ideal behavior, the first point which we should understand is then there will be some attractive forces which exist between the gas particles. Okay, and always remember there is nothing called as ideal gas in the nature. Almost all the gases are real gases. Only at a particular temperature and pressure they behave ideally. Okay, so again back to our point, intermolecular attractive forces are not negligible in real gases, and therefore they do not allow molecules to collide the container wall with full impact. Therefore what will happen? If they are not colliding with full impact, the pressure exerted will be less. Okay, so the next point now, at high pressure. Okay, so we have seen that the ideal behavior is not observed at high pressure and at low temperature. Okay, so the second point talks about at high pressure. Now at high pressure what happens? The molecules are very close to each other. Therefore short range repulsive forces start operating and the molecules behave as small but hard spherical particles. Now as a result what will happen? We have assumed that the volume is negligible of the gas particle as compared to the total container. Okay, over here the volume of the molecule is not negligible. That is what we are seeing about the deviation. Okay, so the volume of the molecule is not negligible in case of the real gases. So very less volume is available for molecular motion. So next point, at very low temperature molecular motion becomes slow and molecules are attracted to each other. Hence the behavior of the real gas deviates from the ideal gas behavior, same like the second point what we have seen. So it is similar over here as well. The molecular motion becomes slow and there is attractive forces which exist between the molecules. Okay, so if there is attractive forces, then it is not an ideal behavior. Okay, so next one now, deviation with respect to pressure can be studied by plotting pressure versus volume curve at a given temperature. So when we plot a graph of pressure versus volume at constant temperature, we get two curves. So over here the blue one is of the ideal gas and the green one is of the real gas. So we can easily understand that at high pressure the measured volume is more than the theoretically calculated volume, assuming ideal behavior. That means when I talk about the measured volume, that means I am talking about the real gas, and calculated volume, that means I am talking about the ideal gas. Okay, and at low temperature, at low pressure, both the values, that is the measured and the calculated volumes, approach each other. Okay, next one, distinguishing points between ideal gas and real gas. So first point, ideal gas strictly obeys Boyle's and Charles law, and over there the PV upon nRT ratio is equal to 1, and in case of real gas it shows deviation from Boyle's and Charles law at high pressure and temperature, that is obeys Boyle's law and Charles law at low pressure and high temperature. So PV upon nRT is not equal to 1, that means it can be less or greater than 1. Next point, the molecules are perfectly elastic, but in case of real gases they are not perfectly elastic. Third point, no attraction or repulsion between the gas molecules, that is collision without loss of kinetic energy. But in case of real gases, intermolecular attractive forces are present, hence collision takes place with loss of kinetic energy. Okay, so these all points we have seen during assumptions, so that is why I am not again and again explaining all this. Okay, so next point, actual volume of the gas molecules is negligible as compared to total volume of the gas, and in case of real gas the actual volume of individual gas molecule is significant at high pressure and low temperature. And fifth point, it cannot liquefy even at low temperatures but continues to obey Charles law and finally occupies zero volume at minus 273 degree Celsius. Next one, real gases, it undergoes liquefaction at low temperature when cooled and compressed. Last point about ideal gas, such a gas does not exist, and real gases that exist in nature like H2, O2, CO2, N2, He, etc. Okay, and always keep in mind that whenever you are talking about real gases, you have to mention at high pressure and low temperature. So in the first point it is written as high pressure and temperature, you have to specify high pressure and low temperature. Okay, next topic is about the compressibility factor, and it is represented by Z. So real gases show ideal behavior when pressure approaches 0. Now deviation from ideal behavior can be measured in terms of compressibility factor Z, which is the ratio of product of PV and nRT. So whenever you hear this word compressibility factor, always remember this equation, Z is equal to PV upon nRT. Now depending upon the value of Z, we can easily understand that whether it is ideal gas or real gas. So if Z is equal to 1, that time we say it is an ideal gas. Okay, so as we know that Z is equal to PV upon nRT, now if we write the equation for ideal gas and real gas, the equation will become Z is equal to P V real upon nRT, and for ideal gas we know that Z is equal to 1. So instead of Z I am going to write down 1. So 1 is equal to PV ideal upon nRT. Now on rearranging this equation, I will get nRT upon P is equal to V ideal. Now I am going to substitute this value of nRT upon P in the first equation. Okay, so I can say Z is equal to, instead of P upon nRT, it will become V ideal. Okay, why it will become V ideal? Because I can bring that P down, so it will be nRT upon P. So that term is called V ideal. So I got the final equation, Z is equal to V real upon V ideal. Now this equation implies that the compressibility factor is a ratio of actual molar volume of a gas to its molar volume if it behaved ideally at that temperature and pressure. So next time we are going to see the graph related to compressibility factor, and a small portion is remaining. So hopefully we will be able to complete this chapter. Okay then, bye.